Last time I was talking about discovering the connection between alcohol and cancer. And I don't want this to sound like a soapbox talk. There's lots of things we can get on our soapbox about. But I think it's really good to pay attention to things that put our mind in danger and our body. And I know that for myself, the C word gets my attention. And it probably gets the attention of many people. So as I made this decision to stop drinking, I mentioned that I was very happy that I wouldn't get cancer. And I want to stress that at that point I was very early in my practice, and I wasn't too concerned about my mind, and I wasn't too concerned about my future lives. I hadn't really thought that much about it, but knowing that I could reduce my risk in this lifetime was important. So I stuck to that promise not to drink, and then when I took refuge, I was very happy that I had this vow that would keep me firm, even if I got pressure. So the other thing to consider is that, people are going to say things to you when you first stop drinking completely. And I think they're saying things because our drinking then makes their drinking uncomfortable. But then I found out quite quickly that people would soon be buying me special juices, and they'd look far and wide to get me very nice special juices. And they weren't pressuring me to drink, and then I noticed that they weren't drinking as much. And so we have to remember that our actions have huge impacts on others. So I think it's very good to know that, we're influencing people in so many ways. It also brings to mind a situation when I was a kid, and I was not older than about 4. And apparently my dad was the babysitter this one afternoon, and he and I are watching the hockey game, because it's Canada and that's what Canadians do, we watch hockey. So at one point he went to the kitchen to get a drink, and he came back and I saw him do this, and apparently I went back into the kitchen and I got a drink for myself. And so I sat beside him and I started drinking this drink, and I started coughing and spitting and really sort of on the verge of convulsing. And my dad figured out that what was in his glass was also in my glass. And it was whiskey, because Canadians drink whiskey and watch TV and hockey. So you can see the impact that our actions have on young minds. We're going to imitate what we see. And that's just a little note if you have kids and you're drinking, they're noticing. So I'm going to go back to how I discovered that there's more research now on the effects of drinking. I encountered a health magazine about 2 years after I stopped that was talking again about the connection between alcohol and breast cancer. And I showed it to some of my friends, and they said, yeah, it's just that flaky health magazine, don't worry about it. So, I just went on my way. And then 2 years ago, a dear friend of mine was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, and I couldn't believe that she would get this kind of cancer. So I went on the Mayo Clinic site and I Googled risk factors, because I knew her lifestyle and it was very simple and pure, and she wasn't a drinker. And one of the risk factors for esophageal cancer, right on the Mayo site, is alcohol. So finally I saw in print what my doctor had been talking about all along. So then I Googled other cancers, and a number of them, when you go to the risk factor, mentions alcohol. So that was very convincing, and I started telling people that I know about, the association of alcohol and cancer, and some people that I know are starting to get concerned. And so then this year, when I was reading something on the CBC website, this is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, they were citing a study that has been done recently in Europe. And the study was looking at drinking in just Europeans, but here's some of the information that came out of that study. Let's see. The conclusions were based on following more than 100,000 men and 250,000 women aged 37 to 70 in Britain, France, Italy, Spain, Greece, Germany, the Netherlands, and Denmark from 1992 to 2005. And this is what they found. A considerable proportion of the most common and most lethal cancers is attributed to former and current alcohol consumption. This strongly underlines the necessity to continue and to increase efforts to reduce alcohol consumption in Europe and worldwide. The effect was greater for certain cancers, which we already know there's a causal relationship, like liver, mouth, throat, esophageal, and breast cancer. And then the Canadian Cancer Society, in responding to this research, said that the cancer risks of drinking have received little attention. I think there's a lot of misconception about the safety of alcohol, said Gillian Bromfield, a policy analyst with the Canadian Cancer Society in Toronto. A lot of people really don't understand the risk of cancer from alcohol intake. So again, this is addressing our physical body. And for sure we have this body for one lifetime. But this is the body that we have right now. And I think we have to really take care of this vehicle that's going to help us progress towards enlightenment. And then there's the other part of this, is that what are we doing to our mind when we take a drink? Well, let's think about it for a moment. We all have experience with this. Does it increase our wisdom and compassion? Gee, if I started thinking about all the things I had to purify on the Vajrasattva retreat that had to do with actions I did under the influence of alcohol, well, that would be another movie. And then we can also think about the habit of drinking. So you may say to yourself, you know what, I only have one drink, but I have it every day. Well, we all know what happens with habits. We keep reinforcing this pattern in our mind, and then let's think about what we're doing to our mind. We're not making it sharper. We're making it duller. And so we can't possibly meditate when we've had one drink. And then we're creating this habit for future lives. So if it sounds like a soapbox, I hope it doesn't, but I think it's something to consider if you're sort of vacillating on, should I take that precept or not? Let's consider first and foremost what we're doing to our mind. And that as Buddhists or as aspiring Buddhists, we want to develop our mind so that wisdom and compassion are full-blown. And I think if we're going to put alcohol into the mix of our mind, it's like putting gasoline on our afflictions and lighting a match. And we know what happens after that. Thank you.